And it is the time to have this conversation together. Hello, beautiful souls. It's Katerina Satori. Am I wearing my wrap over here? Oh, hello, beautiful beings. Just want to make sure that I'm not falling out of my shirt during the live stream. Things that happened during the live stream. Maybe there's going to be a book, like an ebook, all the things that have happened during the live stream. Hello, beautiful souls. This is Katerina Satori, and I am so delighted to be here with you. This is my last live stream before I go kind of off the grid. I will be in my adventures. I am going to a magical country of Bali for a couple of weeks, and definitely the first week I am going to be away. So I wanted to share this live stream and this conversation with you because when I understood these stages of evolution of our soul, and I'm just warming up. So if you're just joining, welcome. It's so good to be with you. And I'm doing my best to actually remember to announce my live streams. Let me know if you find this useful or helpful. I used to just pop in whenever, and a lot of my viewers were requesting this. So I'm doing my best to give everyone just a little bit of heads up. So my loves, I wanted to share this conversation with you, and simply from a perspective of my own personal curiosity. I was always fascinated by understanding the soul from as early of an age as I remember. I was hungry to understand what this life is about, beside just chasing pleasure and becoming successful and seeing the world. Those are great, great experiences, but they can never satisfy the true longing of a human soul. So I was always passionately curious to understand what the journey of the soul is about. And I often describe it as like seeing your life from a hawk view perspective, seeing your life from an archetypal perspective. And why would that be important, right? I'm going to get closer. Oh, by the way, before we begin into this topic, have you noticed the giant salt rock lamp that I have over here? Sometimes I bring out the different decor, but this one was a gift from a good friend of mine, Gregory, and I love this thing so much. And it's always on. It ionizes environment. And I brought one metaphysical object from my altar while we're warming up to the topic. And this is Lakshmi. She's a representation of the divine feminine. And I really love this, this figurine. So these statues, whenever I teach like Ascended Masters course or the Goddesses course, I help others understand that this is not the objects for worship. We don't pray to these figurines. They are metaphysical tools that represent an aspect of divinity, and it helps our human psyche. It's like an anchoring, it's like a reminder to connect with the aspect that this particular representation of divinity reminds us. So we have Lakshmi with us, and she is the goddess of enlightenment, empowerment, and enlightenment, empowerment, of course, prosperity, right? So my loves, we have a blessing of the elements, and I wanted to share with you this topic because there tends to be these 3 stages of evolution of the soul. And I also see these same 3 stages in the evolution of the business. Don't ask me about relationships. I have a feeling it also applies to relationships, but definitely to evolution of your soul and to evolution of your business. If you are a conscious entrepreneur like me, maybe you're working with people, maybe you're growing your dream, you're building your dream, right? I observe there's going to be these 3 stages of how your journey quite possibly will unravel. And I find it so invaluable when you know that, then you can assess, okay, which stage I am at. Because at different stages, you will require different level of awareness, different approach in a way, right? See, okay. So imagine if our life is like a storyline or is like a myth, right? And I often describe it through my favorite book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Let me know if you read that book, because that is a truly archetypal journey, right? Where there is a journey of a human soul that begins to hear a call to a different life. And no matter how much, we sometimes try to silence that call for a different life, that calling will not stop, and it will continue to haunt us in our dreams, sometimes in our nightmares, right? And then in the story of the alchemist, that boy begins to travel, leaves everything behind, and begins to travel, begins to follow the voice of the heart, right? So if you begin to study major stories or legends or myths, there tends to be stages in the story, right? So I began to see connections between the major story unfolding and the story of our own lives. And there's these stages of consciousness that happens at different stage, a different level of our understanding of what this life is about. And once again, I'm sharing, yes, once again, I'm sharing, darlings, not from a position like, oh my goodness, I know all of this. No, I just simply pay attention to the patterns and I'm like, oh, this is a different stage I am in. So there's a different way to operate through this stage. So there are 3 stages, goes like this. The stage number 1 is a stage of survival. Stage number 1 is a stage of survival. And as also we can compare it to the level of vibration, right? So the first vibratory level is survival, and we all begin there. So when you listen to these stages, I invite you to consider, not only your life, how this applies to your life, but if you're working with people like me, right? Or if you have family, if you have loved ones, see those people that you care about, see their lives through those stages. Because the moment I start seeing not only my life, but the life of others through the lenses of 3 evolutionary stages, I naturally shifted into compassion, because there's no way I would even, expect the person on one stage to have the capacity and ability to engage with life from the next stage. So the first stage is a stage of survival, and we all begin there, right? And that's the stage where the fear has a lot of power over human consciousness. So the very, very stage, we're just learning to open our heart and to navigate through fears and to go maybe, outside of the status quo, what's expected from us. So the first stage is survival. The second stage is service. And the third stage is surrender. And I just really wanted to expand on those stages, because the first time, when where I've read about these stages, in the incredible book, The Gene Keys. So maybe it's another encouragement for you to dig into that book and find which chapter Richard Rudd talks about it. But I wanted to give life to these concepts so you begin to see where you're at, where you're moving into, because every stage will ask you to evolve into a new state of being. So, when I think about survival stage, and when I was growing up in Russia, entire country has been in survival, where when you are in the survival stage, you feel deep sense of anxiety that something is not all right with the way things are. And you carry that anxiety, you carry that restlessness or that deep-seated fear, right? So, when I go to Russia, like immediately I feel that in the area, because there is such a thing as collective survival level, collective fear, right, darlings? So in the survival stage, there is a deep-seated belief in separation. There is a deep-seated mistrust in anything novel, mistrust what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? And once again, we all start in the survival stage, right? And then the second stage, the transition to the stage of service, happens when we begin to open our creativity. We begin to tap into something deeper than simply the ego and the way things were presented to us, maybe from our parents. We begin to tap into our creative potential, and we begin to get curious about these unique abilities that we carry. And we begin to maybe explore life through our creative eyes. And this is the stage, it's called the stage of service, where naturally the more our heart begins to open, whether it's opening to noticing beauty of life, opening to noticing our own beauty, that's the major second stage. That's the stage of deep soul work, deep soul healing, and accelerated spiritual awakening. The result of the second stage is a natural desire to give back and to be useful to others. So that's why it's called the stage of service, because this is a really big chapter in our lives. A lot of times people find it when in their late 30s, so sometimes mid 40s, right? In the past, it was like kind of like a result of after the midlife crisis or after your first dark night of the soul. Something shakes you up that you begin to ask deeper questions. And instead of just being in the stage of survival, you shift towards a new orientation in life. And you begin to seek opportunities to contribute and to give back. And you find the deepest joy and fulfillment from that, right? And the third stage, and the stage is called surrender. And surrender is an active, mystical experience. It's not a passive state of defeat, like I am giving up, and I'm just, I am just going to be here. But it's this active, mystical experience where you begin to see the wisdom of surrendering your personal idea of a plan for your life into something bigger and higher and wiser that actually brought you to this life. And it's an incredible experience that, it's truly this stage of when you experience ecstasy of union or reunion with the divinity. This is a stage number 3, which is surrender. And at the stage of surrender, some of your biggest life dreams happen in the most effortless way. If at the second stage of service, there is a lot more intention setting, there is a lot more goal setting, there is a lot more doing, there is a lot more effort, which is very healthy at that stage, right? You're developing your spiritual organs, you're developing your spiritual abilities. Maybe you're developing your psychic abilities, ability to listen, ability to trust life unconditionally. On the third stage of surrender, you begin to move through this reality as this absolutely knowing that you are not only interconnected to everything around you, but you're also interdependent with everything around you. Yeah, Sarah says, Surrender is the most challenging one. Yes, darling, at times it feels like that simply because you're learning to stabilize a new code and a new geometry in your body. Literally, all of us are sacred geometry in motion, right? So every time your consciousness rises to a new way of being, your entire geometry goes through rewiring, right? That's why a lot of times I say, hey, it took me a month to integrate energies of January. And I am not kidding, darlings. The January was so strong and it has been so strong. And I kind of intuitively knew that because we're entering a new decade. And if 2020 is the foundation of a new decade, new vibration, more accelerated frequency, right? So what I observe right now is like such rapid manifestation that my level of responsibility for my thoughts, for my desires went through the roof because I see how fast things manifest. Whether I focus on something that I truly desire and focus on something that I may put too much obsession in or begin to control it, and energy goes really, really twisted really fast. So the third stage of surrender, it can feel challenging in the beginning, simply when you're in the process of recalibration of your energy. But then it becomes the most effortless way to live. Because when you stabilize the stage of surrender in your soul, you begin to see the wisdom of not knowing. That's where the truly divine feminine abides, is in not knowing. If knowledge, this could be this stage 2 service, which is a really beautiful stage, living with an open heart, living through seeing the world through our creativity, being of service with our creativity. It's a beautiful stage, right? And it's meant to be transcended. It's meant to be transcended. So the stage 3, which is surrender, it's where you begin to look into the nature of your dreams. You begin to look into the nature of your desires. Very playfully, you begin to inquire, well, what truly drives this desire? What truly drives this dream? And you begin to really inquire deeper and deeper into the nature of your attachments, into the nature of your longing, right? So it's an ongoing process of purification. And the reason that purification is so powerful is the more you allow purification to occur, the clearly you begin to see the nature of this reality. It's just like cleaning the windows in your car or the windows in your house, right? The clearer are the windows, the further you can see. I have a beautiful windows in my living room that I can see ocean all the way as far as I can to the next island, right? And sometimes when the rain comes, especially in the winter, my windows get really, really dirty. And I get to go and clean my windows because I can't really see out this clearly. So the same applies in our life. At different stages of our growth and our evolution as a soul, every single stage will ask us to go through these processes of purification for our benefit, so we see our life clearly. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm not falling out of my shirt. Just a little lightness in the spiritual wisdom talks. And once again, darlings, I invite you to take what I share and verify it in your own experience. Don't ever take what I share as a truth, as some kind of a, wisdom. Only verify through your personal experience. It gave me such a sense of ease when I begin to decode my human experience from an archetypal perspective. When I first entered the stage of surrender, it was deeply disorienting experience, you know, because a part of me was really used to having a lot of control over my environment, control through my knowledge, control through my skills, right? Control through my connections, right? Meaning like I had a sense of certainty around my environment through these very useful skills, abilities, talents that I have developed. And when I was entering the third stage of surrender, all of that had to be shifted. The priorities of what I would lead with had to be shifted. And it was like this new rebirth of my consciousness, deeper sense of listening than ever, new rhythm, new sense of patience, right? New level of trust. And in the field of surrender that's where I met truly divine feminine energy, the spirit that animates everything is what I call the divine cosmic mother, the feminine face of the divinity. And another way I describe it is like meeting grace. At the stage of surrender, you have an opportunity to really experience true grace in your life. The deeper life asks us to surrender, the deeper is their amount of grace waiting for us. And by the way, if any of you beautiful souls have questions, just type them in the comments, because I'm not live streaming through Zoom. I can see your comments immediately here on my in the comment section. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to share, and I will see them right away. So how does this apply to your business? We talked a little bit about the soul growth, but your business or your creativity, your art is part of your soul's growth. On the level of the soul, why are we keep coming back to this sensory rich and duality heavy reality, right? What's the fascination with planet Earth? I am curious. And in my deep inquiry, it's all about mastery. We come to the planet Earth because it's the most accelerated dimension for growth and for mastery and learning to see ourselves in a completely new way. It's this never-ending process of becoming. Like, I'm curious who I will become tomorrow. I'm curious who I will become in 2 months, right? It's this never-ending sense of becoming. And while we are going through all of this becoming, we're learning to master this reality, right? On the level of the soul, with this unlimited source consciousness connected to all. But the moment we arrive to the planet Earth, we get to abide under the 7 universal laws, right? That's just the spiritual laws. And then we have physical laws, and then we have material world laws, and all these ways where we get to become, oh, wow, we really get to master this reality, master ourselves first, and then we begin to master our physical domain, right? Our ability to navigate this reality with grace and with a sense of remembrance who we truly are. So I take this 3 stages: survival, service, and surrender, and I apply them to my business, and I see this so clearly, darlings. I just had this insight before I was getting ready for this live stream. I was like, wow, it actually applies to business too. A lot of times, we I'm going to speak for myself. Sometimes every stage of my growth as an entrepreneur was because I wanted to transcend the previous stage, right? I wanted to grow, I wanted to transcend what I had. And especially when I came to US, I was completely driven by survival, right? The first, I would say, 7 years of my life in the US were all driven by survival. Even though it looked like achievement, it looked like a lot of success, a lot of like shiny things, but it was driven by survival, survival of the fittest, right? And then you go through awakening and you begin to bring completely new energy to your business. You know, I love to have these conversations with my fellow entrepreneurs when they share with me how, they have built like huge empires, right? Whether it's a digital empire or they built entire personal brand at particular level of consciousness. And then the moment they're going through an awakening of consciousness, they find themselves kind of like this in this conflict. What do I do with everything that I've built? It doesn't resonate with me anymore. And I feel like I have to follow my heart. I have to express like this new message and a new voice. But what do I do with everything that I've built on the level of survival? So it's a real conundrum, right? It's a real leap of faith. With each stage, there is a huge evolutionary leap of faith. And with each stage, there is a great opportunity to build an exquisite intimacy with your soul and to get to know your soul and to look at every part of your psyche and examine fears, doubts, a limiting belief that cannot be taken to the next stage. So in between of these stages, we often find ourselves in what I lovingly call the void, the place of rebirth. I used to think the void is such a scary place, but it's actually a beautiful velvety womb of the Great Mother that we sometimes been thrown in, right? First couple of times. And then we begin to recognize, oh, wow, I feel my path is drawing me to the womb of the Great Mother. I feel like I'm entering into the great portal of the rebirth. And if I know it's a place of rebirth of my consciousness, there is no need to panic. There is no need to kick or scream. And there is definitely no need to insist on having this process be on my timetable, because it's not going to go that way, right? So you begin to trust these processes of disillusion, right? Where you're dissolving the previous identity that was useful for you, begins to dissolve, and you begin to get reborn into a new understanding. Seth, my friend Seth is here. Hi. He says, super grateful that so many spiritual people are realizing that business and spiritual growth are not separate. They are intertwined in order to teach us what we need to learn. Thank you for your work. Yes, beloved soul, I so agree with you. Exactly. It is just an expression of us. Our business, our creativity, our work is an expression of our consciousness. That is why, when somebody goes through massive awakening, they really begin to re-examine what they do for a living. And there is usually two kind of options that I noticed. You either recommit to what you do, but with your whole heart and your whole devotion, and you bring this awakened consciousness to your reality, no matter what it looks like, or you begin to see there is a new adventure awaits for me, and I get to go and create my own environment where I can express myself fully at this new level of consciousness, right? That's what I observe, so many times, darlings. I just remember when I was going through my rapid awakening process, and awakening, it's not a single event. We are constantly awakening, right? Moment by moment, we're awakening. Oh, right now, just feel a little bit more awoken, right? It's a moment by moment experience. But I remember it took me some time before I fully stepped into my Dharma. It was quite a process. And the times where I was asked by Spirit to find my sense of devotion and a sense of humility in the task that was given to me, even though I knew I had bigger gifts and I could, serve in a bigger way. But the Spirit says, your time comes. Meet every task as a noble assignment from Spirit, no matter what it is. So a lot of times Spirit will ask us to go through massive purification, and that can be called your corporate job, or the job that you feel like, oh my goodness, I so want to do something different. And what that is, I don't see clearly yet. And if you are there, trust that if you bring an open heart to your experience, you will receive this training that is required for you to prepare you for the next stage, right? It's all about how we meet the life that we have right now. Darlings, how I shared with you that the last stage of surrender is the fastest and most effortless manifestation of your biggest dreams, right? I have so much proof from my personal experience, and it's really what it taught me. The moment I would get impatient, I remember praying for about 3 years and calling in my dream environment. It was such a dream to wake up and to see ocean from, just one window. But Spirit can surprise you. If you're not attached, the how and the precision of how your dream will come to you, Spirit will surprise you with magnificent of that manifestation. So don't be too precise and too attached to the package of your dream, right? Simply cultivate, the sacred prayer for a particular dream of yours. And that's what I was doing, darlings, for about 3 years. And I went through so many stages because I felt like, the closer I was to manifestation of my dreams, the more, how would I say that, the deeper the self-doubt. I would go through those moments of deep self-doubt, like, this dream, I've been carrying it for 3 years. Will it ever come true? So if you have a dream like this, maybe it's a dream about your true partnership that you hold in your heart. Maybe it's a dream about your beautiful home that you hold in your heart. Maybe it's a dream about finding your life's calling. That was my dream for 10 years, And so what I observed, my loves, is the closer you are to manifestation, the sharper are the dips to self-doubt. You're probably not going to stay there as long because, you've learned to detach from expectations more and more. But I've noticed it's almost like a test. How deeply do you trust the unfolding of your reality? How deeply do you trust the Great Spirit to fulfill these dreams of yours? So I find it's very fascinating because, I keep my journals. I have so many journals. I'll show you. I was looking through my journals. This is just 2 of them. And one journal, I still have an entry where I wrote, today I release completely. I let go of my biggest dream to live by the ocean. I wrote, I don't see how to make it happen. I just don't see it. So I let go. And literally 3 months later, I moved to Laguna Beach and I live in this magical hobbit house where I see the ocean, darlings, from every window, even my bathroom. Okay? Remember, I shared with you, once you let go of attachment, Spirit will surprise you. I'm not going to say Spirit will blow your mind because I really don't like that expression. Your subconscious mind will take it literally, but Spirit will wow you. Spirit will wow you. What Spirit has in plan for you is so much more magnificent. And the moment we begin to insist on particular package, particular list, particular timetables, we begin to constrict the reality by our attachments, right? Our attachments lead us to suffering. So in the place of surrender, you lean into the intimacy of you with your soul, into the sacredness of your heart, and you hold your dream like a snowflake on your hands. And you say, Great Mother, that's how I address the divine, or Great Spirit, or universe, however you address the divine. It's the conversation between you and the divine. And you hold the dream, whatever that you desire the most, as gently as a snowflake in your hands. And you begin to inquire about the feeling that you desire to experience when that dream becomes your reality, and you begin to step into your magician archetype. Everybody has one. For a lot of people, that archetype is asleep, and maybe it acts out as an evil magician, right? But a true magician that operates through the open heart of a human being is a beautiful, beautiful archetype to awaken in you. And you begin to tap into that feeling. So for me, when I was calling in my dream home, the feeling that I wanted to have is to be creatively inspired. Every day I open my eyes and I am creatively inspired by my environment, right? That was the essence of the desire. When you can get to the essence of your desire, you magnify that desire. You become so clear about how you desire to feel, right? Your feelings are magnetic. Your thoughts are electric. So, darlings, that's how I set any intentions now, right? If it's an intention for a partnership, the same thing. It's been years since I threw away all those crazy lists. I kind of smile when I see people say, become very specific and write down everything you want in the partner and give your order to the universe. Great. Maybe it works for somebody. It never worked for me. It only brings the frustration and only brings like a comedy show into this experience. Instead, I said, okay, why don't I focus on how do I desire to feel in the unionship of my dreams? And I become really, really clear on 5 core desired feelings. I remember those. And another secret of magic, I can create them. Whether the partner is here or not, I can create them right now. And the fastest way to manifest anything in your life is to move into having it already and cultivate that state of being, right? Quantum reality principles. But I find it's incredibly empowering, darlings, because then we don't look for anything outside of ourselves. And we approach our dreams as snowflakes. It's beautiful to have a dream. It actually drives us, right? It gives fuel to our sail. It gives inspiration to our writing. It gives richness to our conversation with others. To have dreams is beautiful. To have visions is powerful. You want to find the person who is defeated is a person who doesn't have a vision that is compelling enough. So it's incredibly important for human soul to have a vision, to have, this future that this person is excited about, and sculpting that vision. But then ultimately we begin to inquire into the nature of our attachment to when that vision comes and how. And everything shifts, with all these stages: service, survival, service, surrender. How does it apply to our businesses? When you serve, you are served. And this is the principle: life supports life. No matter what I will go through, a challenge or self-doubt or uncertainty, I know if I focus on being of service, I move through those difficult feelings so much faster, right? Something happens where I take my focus off me into supporting another. And then the surrender. How to surrender, darlings? I operate my business is really on surrender. I wake up and I say, Spirit, where would I be useful to you today? Where would I be useful to you today? And I say, Great Mother, what program do you want me to bring forward next? Right? What is your schedule? What is your timetable? And sometimes I don't hear answers right away. Sometimes I'm really being asked to sit and become really intimate with my now reality without looking into the future at all. And to celebrate my now reality without having any plans. It's a radical way to navigate through your reality, right? At first, it might be a little bit uncomfortable because it will take some risk, it will take some trust. But then you begin to realize it's the most efficient way to move through your reality because you're constantly in the flow. You are the flow. So before moving into action, you listen and you read the energy around you. You read the flow. Where is the current going? That's why, darlings, I consult Tao Te Ching, the Book of Changes, right? I have different oracle tools that I consult. And the most important one is the body. The body is your oracle. That's why it's so important to awaken the body's capacity to communicate to you. Because then you become the oracle of your life. Your body will tell you moment by moment where is the most effortless way to be of service, to be in alignment, right, darlings? So it's really, really beautiful. But I found, like last night, I went to sound healing journey. It was so amazing. And trust me, I have not mastered any of this. I am in the process of discovery. And whatever I discover, I deepen my understanding. I share it, So I often find myself between, like having deep sense of comfort to use my mind to make decisions and to strategize and to plan the year. And then stabilizing the surrender frequency where it's a moment by moment listening, moment by moment responding to the intelligent space. Right? So I was at the sound healing yesterday. If you've never experienced sound bath, please give yourself a gift. It is such an incredible healing process. It fine-tunes all of your subtle bodies. So I was in exquisite sound bath yesterday, and this incredible being who was leading the bath, the sound bath. Wow, we started with the sounds of the dolphins, and there were oceans waves, and there was like this kind of like a sound of the shifting sand. It was unbelievably magical experience. But what happens when you shift into a deeper relaxation of the body releases the information for your conscious mind finally to tap into. I used to call the information downloads. Now I see it a little bit differently. Everything you want to know, every wisdom, every answer for your life is in your body. It's in your body. It's in your body. It's always been there. So when you open up the body, you begin to listen to it deeper and deeper. The body floods you with this knowing of what to do next. And I call them revelation from the body. In the moment that I begin to see that everything is in the body, I begin to naturally respect my body deeper. I begin to take naturally better care of my body. I begin to see massages, floating tank, sound healing, not as a luxuries, but as a necessity for me to stay connected to the information that my body gives to me. And then you are becoming your own oracle. That's why it's absolutely natural. It is absolutely natural in the beginning of your journey to seek psychics, to seek, whatever, right? Show me what the future is. But nobody can tell you what the future has. With the best psychics, the best mediums can read your field in the present moment and give you information based on your present moment reality. Nobody has the power to see the future because you create it moment by moment by moment. Yes, there's a specific storyline that unfolds. There's a specific theme for each of our lives. There's also a universal theme for humanity. That's why our lives are like a myth. But we co-create our future with the moment by moment choice. How are you receiving this? Do you like my salt rock lamp? I love it. It's so beautiful. Ah, beloved souls. What do I know? I just find these insights. That's why, when I met my mystical friend, Silas, my brother, my soul brother, who looks, he's very handsome. He's my brother. Very handsome, amazing body shape, a yogi, true yogi who practices, day in and day out. And he will never teach it, but the wisdom that comes through him is just embodied wisdom. And from the very beginning, when I met him, he kept telling me, Katerina, it's all in the body. It's all in the body. It's all in the body. That's his phrase. It's all in the body. And there was a time in my life where I actually stayed with him for about 3 months when I was going through a huge wave of uncertainty in my life. I was going through survival to service. That was the stage. And I let go of all the familiar structures of certainty and having control over my environment. The cash cow job that I used to have, the house, the relationships, everything got stripped away with my consent because I asked Spirit on accelerated spiritual awakening. You ask and you receive. So when you insist on accelerated spiritual awakening, you begin the process of taking off the layers, which basically taking off the handcuffs. And you begin to remember your true power. You begin to remember your sovereignty. So during those times, I got to live with my soul brother, Silas. And I remember he saw me, as a burnout, aspiring entrepreneur, where my business was in a really turbulent stage at that time. And he saw me, I think he saw me, I had this addiction. Oh, I've never talked about this. Oh, darlings, I've had so many addictions in my life. A lot. But one of them was, there was a time where I was really addicted to those vaping cigarettes, like the vaping nicotine. And I remember, he saw me in that chapter, like my nervous system on override. There was no sense of presence, very little, and I was hustling. I was in this survival stage of my business where I was hustle, force, willpower, vaping cigarettes on the sides, trying to just force my success. I had to go through that stage to see the contrast of stepping into true service. And what helped me make that transition was learning from my brother. He would see me stressed out of my mind, that he would say, sister, let's go get the Thai massage. His solution to any problem that he saw that I was struggling with, he's like, hey, let's go get massages. And we would take edibles. We're working with cannabis in a very conscious way. I've learned to have a respect for that plant from my brother. And he would say, okay, take this microdosing. It was before like microdosing was really, really popular. let's go get a massage. And he would tell me, he would explain how the medicine opens up the constrictions inside your body. And then the information from your spirit begins to flow, actually, begins to flow and reach your heart. And that was a huge epiphany for me, darlings, because if we chronically live under stress, we'll live in a very tightly constricted body, right? And the flow of information from our higher self is interrupted. So if you are an entrepreneur like me, and you maybe sometimes get into those highly stressful stages where you just drive yourself to the wall, 15-hour days, right? And you can't stop because you're addicted to that way of being, get more massages. Like, this could be investment in your sanity. Thigh massage, thigh massage, right? That's what it is. Yeah, thigh massage, not thigh massage, Thai massage. It's a comedy show. My live streams are a comedy show. So Thai massage, and maybe the thigh massage will be helpful too. And floating, darlings. But basically, with every chapter, whether it's you interact with your relatives who are just at the different stage of their awakening, and if you see them in the survival stage, maybe it will help you to have more compassion for them, because fear is the default response that they interact with life, right? And that's what helps me, when I go to see my family and I see entire countries in survival. I remember they're yet to recognize the divine potential within them. They're yet to see the beauty of their soul. They're yet to actually have any sense of confidence and the ability to create a new reality. Of course, they are in the reaction. Of course, they are in fear. So the gift that I can bring in that situation is be the unconditional field of presence, right? And simply be the embodiment of a new paradigm. That's all that is ever asked of us. When the more you awaken your aura, the more your presence around a person has a healing effect. I was contemplating on the power of listening, darlings. A lot of times people come to me for guidance. But often, I don't offer any guidance until I listen. And I listen a lot, and I listen deeply. And then I help people understand the power of listening as the most profound cleansing of emotional body of another. Because when we are being listened to with unconditional acceptance in a safe space, and we're also being listened to by somebody that we respect, admire, feel like I actually feel safe and seen by you. The cleansing that happens on the level of energy is profound. That's why we always feel lighter when we're being listened to deeply. And it's an art, darling. Sometimes I failed greatly at listening, and in the past, I would be like, oh, I see the inside and I can offer this beautiful insight, but I could have listened even deeper. So it's a great art, to listen deep and to have these contemplations with each other about this mythical journey that we hold human experience in the 3 evolutionary stages: survival, service, surrender. Or another way to say it, living in fear, living in creativity, and living in spirit, right? So what a beautiful life. Oh, I read your comments now. Thank you so much for being here. Michael Bright says, I definitely hear the God is speaking through you. Thank you. Sandy. Sandy asking the question, what if we are not in clarity of our offering, but we are feeling depleted in our current work situation? The sacred pause is what I hear Spirit speak. Yes, yes, darling, sacred pause. Wondering if you have anything to share from your experience. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, beloved, there were years where I am not exaggerating. There were years where I would go through this pendulum where I would find my way to master my focus and to become really present and appreciative of my present moment, right? In my heart, I knew my deepest work or my true calling, my true offering was yet to be revealed to me. And I knew I had to be patient and wait and trust my training. But there was a pendulum, sometimes I would show up for that time present reality. Even though it was not ideal, I would find my way to see it as ideal. And that was a huge practice. And I would notice what depleted me, and I would become discerning. What do I require to stay uplifted? What do I require to nourish myself? And what I have observed, when you grow through an accelerated spiritual growth, there is a lot of aloneness that is required. There are a lot of solitude, a lot of listening, right? A lot of being. And it can be deeply uncomfortable because, in the process of excitement for this new chapter, you want to be doing a lot, right? So sometimes I would feel successful in that process, and sometimes I would feel like I was failing, and I would find myself in a complaining mind and restless and being really impatient. All of that was useful, Sandy. All of that was useful. Looking back, I can see the chapters unfolding. You know how they say life must be lived forward and can only be understood looking backwards. And I think there's so much wisdom there that we can only truly understand the direction of our life by looking backwards. You're like, oh, that was the lesson of that partnership. Only now, after 7 years, I see the lesson of why that partner came into my life, right? Or, wow, that was the biggest training before my Dharma. And if that stage was missing, I would not be prepared to actually step fully into my calling, right? So there is a particular myth that is unfolding. There's a particular storyline that is unfolding in every one of our lives, right? And I think it's so beautiful and so profound. Thank you so much, Seth. I really appreciate the beautiful comment. And I'm gonna take a little water here. You know how much I love being with you. Whenever I do these deep dive live streams, all sense of time disappears, and I really, really love being with you, my loves. And I was writing in my journal how much I miss teaching, and it's going to be almost 9 months since I taught live, and it's kind of like came full circle. I'm really glad I took the time to recalibrate my body, because some of you know, almost 9 months ago, I went through a surgery and I unblocked my heart chakra. I took out my 11-year-old breast implants. I took it out of my body, and because they were slowly killing me. And it really was like a complete recalibration of everything, opening up the channel of communication. Transmission started coming through completely different way. And I wanted to let everyone know, my loves, that I just received the timeline from the Great Spirit. So I'm going to be teaching 3 new programs. It's coming through. I'm not announcing anything yet. I just wanted to share, the deepest passion that I have for creating these containers for growth and really creating communities. Some of you who've been in my classes, you know, we create real community and people create deep connections. And I believe that's the juice of it, you know. That's the gift of virtual live interaction experiences. So it's coming, darlings, it's coming. I am going to Bali in 2 days. I am so excited. And I have the most amazing personal clients in the world because they were all supportive. They're like, yeah, we're not going to even vox you or text you. Please go ahead and have amazing time. So for 2 weeks, especially first week, I will be kind of quiet in pleasure, play, and adventure with my divine sister Marcy Locke, who is my incredible sacred ally. And I desire this for everybody, darlings. I even did this ritual of calling your true allies. I have an audio somewhere. But if you are in entrepreneurship or conscious entrepreneurship similar to me, there comes a point when you enter the stage of surrender where you begin to feel this deep desire to call in your true allies. And I encourage everyone receive that blessing, because we incarnate in groups. It only looks like we're like coming through the birth canal on our own. That doesn't happen. We usually do this. We're like talking to our soul family in the spirit plane. I'm like, okay, you ready? We're going in. Okay, I'm gonna meet you at that chapter. I'm gonna meet you at that chapter. Okay, you're gonna activate that gift. You're gonna trigger that wound. Okay, cool. Everybody's clear on the major plan. Great. And we incarnate in a soul group, right? Oh, Katie says, it was your eclipse activation in July. Thank you, Katie. You see, I'm so grateful that my students are here, because a lot of times I don't remember, it just comes through. But it was calling your true soul allies. You're right, Katie. That was the part of the eclipse activation. It was the whole experience. Yes. So call in your true soul family. If you're not ready to call in your soul allies, call in your true soul family. And they begin to appear, and you begin to recognize them by this sense of deep familiarity. Like you can be yourself around them. You don't need to be like anything else. There is like this deep camaraderie or a deep sense of kindred spirit. Like, I've known you, right? And sometimes, darlings, I do past life regressions on myself as a great tool. And sometimes when I feel a very, very strong connection with somebody that is so familiar, that's the first thing I do. I go and I'm like, oh, let me take a look at other past lives. Where did we have adventures before? And it gives the next level of understanding, right? Yes. Would you like me to pull an oracle card from my new deck for us? I will take it as a yes. I just got this white light oracle, darlings. It's a beautiful deck. The artwork is magnificent. And it's called Enter the Luminous Heart of the Sacred. So the third stage, right? The third stage of surrender is living in the flow, is living in the luminosity of your sacred heart. Some esoteric traditions call it an opening of your heart eye. You open your third eye first, and then, that's where, when you open the third eye, that's where NLP is very useful. Hypnosis is very useful, because you learn to master the mind, right? You learn to navigate the mind. And then you begin to deepen your journey into your heart awareness and your heart eye. And that's a whole other level of experience. So let's say, what would be the most benefit for the group of souls that here gathered? What is the most important thing for them to remember? This is my intention for this card. Actually, this is one of my favorite cards. One of my favorite cards, and it's the number 22, master number. Look, beloveds. Wow. This is a beautiful card. You know, beauty opens the heart, and the artwork activates remembrance. So let's take a look. 22, while we're together here. The guidance of spirit. It says, this is for all of us, beloveds. A way through the struggle has already been created for you, and you being led onto that path. Your authentic soul path may include recognition and acclaim, notable success and admiration. Be grateful, but do not be dazzled or distracted by such experiences. Focus on what connects you to your heart and grounds you in the simplicity of spiritual truth, which is the practice of love, kindness, and peace. This will allow for successful progress in the material world without disturbing the sanctity of your soul. That is really beautiful. You may be dazzled and admired and recognized by so many people, but do not let this distract you. Remain in your true authentic power by remembering what's essential, what is true, and what is rooted in a spiritual truth. Beloved souls, it was so good to be with you. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for the gift of your presence. You know, I hope you can feel my heart. I love this deep dive connections with you, and it's always such a gift. I hope you see your life through these lenses where you say, oh, which stage I'm at and what is needed. Each stage requires a leap of faith and trust and staying grounded in your body, remembering that massages and floating tanks and sound baths are not luxuries. They are necessities for you to stay connected to the wisdom of your body, which is a true oracle. Your body is your oracle. I love you, beloveds. Thank you so much. And I appreciate every comment. And thank you if you feel inspired to share this live stream. I always say thank you, because the more people can maybe get a couple of ideas and they feel a sense of enthusiasm and hope, right? Then we all benefit and grow. Next time my live stream is from the Bali. And the next live program, darlings, is in March. I'm such a tease. I know. But I'm so excited. And March, April, and May. So I will be a joy to share an intimate space of growth with you. They're all going to be on spiritual topics, on spiritual mastery and self-mastery. And thank you for the gift of sharing these evolutions with you. And may your life be infinitely blessed, because every single one of us is held deeply in the heart of the Great Mother, in the heart of grace. I love you.